Hello, class. Now that you have your proposal and your scripting complete, it's time to consider your filming and the style you want to portray. So, the most important thing to consider is storytelling. Storytelling is the key to everything we do in digital video. Okay? Regardless of what subject you're working with, you need to tell a compelling story. It's what people want to hear. Everybody loves a good story. So, what makes up a good story? Well, good stories are universal. Everybody understands them, right? They're clear in structure and purpose. That's why I ask you to have a beginning, middle, and end. There's a nice clear structure going on, and you have to really understand the purpose of what you're doing. So sit down and think, okay, why am I doing this? What is my main one sentence purpose for, and not just to get a grade. There needs to be a purpose behind your film. Great stories appeal to emotions. Think emotionally. Energetic emotion is what I always like to say. So you want people to feel something, but you want there to be an energy. Too much serious depth might drag the film down. You only have 3 minutes, so you need to keep it a bit up. Great stories are surprising and unexpected. If you can find that twist, oh, that's golden. So while you're interviewing people, think of that. While they're sitting there answering questions, if you hear something that sounds unexpected, go with that. Ask more questions about that. And then great stories are also simple and focused. So again, know your purpose, stay focused on your purpose. But again, if while asking questions, something really unexpected comes up, keep that line of questioning going. You can come back to your other questions, but that's just one of those really rare things that happens. You may not use it in the end, who knows, but capture it. Make sure you have it. So, style. Style is one of the hardest things to figure out when you're a young filmmaker, videographer, micro documentary artist, whatever you like your title to be. But some things to consider when thinking about the style you want to portray is embed yourself in the story. Become part of the story where the camera are your eyes. Okay, think cinema verite, which it looks less like a staged setup and more like you're a fly on the wall in the conversation. Even talking heads, the interviews you're going to do, if there's any way you can make it look less staged, like there's a conversation between two people, that's why I always say don't let the person look directly into the camera, which I'll talk about more in a second. If you can make it look more like they're having just a conversation with a friend in a coffee shop or something less staged and more real, that always works best. Again, think story first. Story, 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 and then add any action and emotion into that story. Consider how to use photos and animations, archival footage. I left you a whole bunch of links on our Blackboard in the announcements of archival footage spaces you can go to find free video footage, historical and otherwise. Some of your clients or some of the people you're working with may have footage that you can use. How can you use those to the best of your ability? And take risks. Do things out of the ordinary. That's how you create a style. I want you to be passionate about it. If this is what you're going to do with your life, start to create. That's what these classes are for, right? For you to learn how to create your style, what makes you you, so that when people see your film, oh, that's a Susan Cardillo. That is what you want people to do. Well, you don't want them to say it's a Susan Cardillo. You want them to say it's, a Jim Jones, whatever your name is. So here's a bunch of different short documentaries that I will have the actual list posted in the announcement right below the video. It will be this actual PowerPoint, so you can go in and check out each one of these. There are some really, really good ones, one made completely with an iPhone. You can find other examples on YouTube, but these are some you want to look at and get ideas from. Steal away. Okay, so when you're filming, so you kind of thought about your style, you know your script, you know the questions you're going to ask. Now it's time to film. Okay, so I want you to make sure your interviews and your B-roll times are all set up, right? With plenty of time with your interviewer, because you never know where they're going to go, right? You want to arrive 30 minutes before you're supposed to be there. Let them know you're going to be there, but you'll just be setting up, because you want to get a feel for the space. You want to understand, is it a cloudy day? Is it a sunny day? Are you depending on natural light? Those are things that you really have to consider every time you film, unless of course you have a huge film crew with you and you have all the lighting equipment and all of that, then maybe it's not as big a deal. But if you are depending on natural light, at least 30 minutes early so you can make some other arrangements if necessary. Um, it's usually best to collect your B-roll after an interview. I know some people like to do it prior, but my thought process is always that something that's said in that interview may spark an interest of filming something else. So you want to hear what your experts or your interviewees have to say, and then you're going to build the B-roll, which is what's rolling while they're speaking, around that. So it's best to get their responses first and then take B-roll. If it's not possible, take a whole lot of B-roll so it will always fit. But I would say interview first, B-roll after. And it's a more relaxed situation for you. The interview tends to be a little more nerve-wracking, right? Because you don't know what people are going to say and they're going to be nervous and that makes you nervous. And the B-roll is just you being an artist, filling in the space. And so do it after, and then you're more relaxed and you're more creative that way. Consider interviewing from different angles. And this is just a suggestion. There's just something about just sitting talking heads that makes me a little crazy, but this is a way you can do it. So you sit the person down, right? The normal way is going to be, if you're using natural light, go near a window, have the person facing the window, set up the camera, and then sit next to the camera or stand however you want to work, but stay eye level with the person. So if they're sitting, you should be sitting. So sit across next to the camera, closest to that window. So the light is reflecting directly onto your interviewee's face. They get the most light. So then do the whole interview, have them speak, have them, answer all the questions, and then say, okay, I'm going to set the camera up at a different angle now and try some experiments. And you can do this 2 or 3 different times. They don't have to redo all the questions. They just have to talk a little bit. So set the camera up at a different angle, maybe from the waist up on the side, but still have the person facing the way they were, and have them talk a little bit. And then maybe change the camera angle to the other side and just face it like on their hands, or their face and their hands. You can always zoom in or zoom out on that in your editing process, and have them speak a little bit. Hands are wonderful to film. If somebody talks a lot with their hands, it's a great use of B-roll or cutaways or whatever you'd like to call it, so that you can get some more energy into the interview. Just the sitting talking head brings down the energy most of the time. You should either be rolling B-roll or doing different angles. And if you're a solo filmmaker in this project, using a cell phone at that, you want to just try your best to get different angles. And then during editing, you can cut into that side view where you see the mouth moving. People aren't really going to notice that much of a difference in what the lips are doing, because you're doing the side angle. You don't really see the lips actually moving. So maybe you get the full side shot, like from the knees up or from the waist up, and you see the hands moving. So it's just different ideas that you can do to give your interviews more energy. Okay, so let's talk about COVID style interviews. Some of you are not going to be able to do in-person interviews, and that is absolutely fine. Another aside is, and this probably is more for females than males, but both, never go and interview somebody alone in a room with them. I know that I shouldn't have to say that to people your age, but people trust people, and I don't know that that's always a wise thing. So always make sure there's either another person there, or the person you hired or who hired you, brought you in to film, is there as well, or meet in a public place. That of course affects your sound, so that's going to be an issue. Or do a COVID style interview. You can use Zoom, WebEx, Skype, any of the above to talk to your interviewees, right? You can just film that, hit record on your laptop and film the conversation. You're going to use a lot of B-roll in this instance, but there are interesting ways in editing that you can play with that footage. If you ask during the Zoom interview the person to sit back from the computer, so not just a waist up shot, but maybe a 3/4 shot of them, so you can zoom the footage in and out during the interview if you wanted to. That would be helpful. Now, sound is always going to be an issue. Please, before doing a Zoom interview, talk to your interviewee and say it would really be helpful if you were in a quiet space with no interruptions like children or dogs running around. Good to have some kind of curtains in the room to deflect the sound. Something in the background that's not just a wall, which can, not much you can do with that. But I know it's difficult to talk to interviewees about this stuff, but if they'll help you where they can. They want to look good, and you'll tell them this is how you're going to make them look good. You could also record a FaceTime conversation on your phone. That's absolutely acceptable. Now, if you want your footage to match your B-roll, remember to ask the interviewee to turn their phone horizontally. Vertically, you're going to have those big black lines on your footage when you go to edit. So if you want it to be apparent that it's a FaceTime call, which is fine, that could be a good effect too. You could take it up on one side of the screen and you can put B-roll on the other. That would be a really cool way to do it. So you do a FaceTime interview using it, I'll say Instagram style, vertical, and then you push that to one side of the screen in editing and you show the B-roll on the other. I love that idea. That gives it a lot of energy, the interview. Just another aside, cell phone filming, be sure that you hold your phone horizontally for your B-roll. I don't think I have to say that, but just in case, vertically, you're going to come up with a lot of challenges. And that is it. I hope you guys have a great week. Let me know if you have any issues.